You've just accessed Hardware is Forever, your source for the expert insights, ideas, and innovations you need to do more in the electronics manufacturing industry. From optimization to operations, join us as we put the pieces together for a better approach to manufacturing. Let's go.
Welcome back. This is Hardware is Forever. Jay Patel is the CEO at Amtech, and we are continuing our conversation about Dr. Deming and his 14 principles of management. And Jay, we spent some time kind of going over and discussing sort of your introduction or involvement to this. And today we're going to start with the first one. And let me throw it at you and just kind of get your gut level. What are you thinking about when you hear me say his first principle is create constancy of purpose toward improvement of product and service? I want to repeat that because it's important before the comma. Create constancy of purpose toward improvement of product and service with the aim to become competitive and stay in business and to provide jobs. There's a lot to unpack. What's your initial thought as you hear that?
So I think, a lot of this it's very common sense, but it's also hard to implement. I think, whenever you're trying to build a business or build a family or build relationships, I think it's all there. Like, you have to have the constancy of purpose there. That is really different when you implement it, because everything seems like everything happens overnight. That is the perception. And the perception is that improvements happen quickly. You have to outmaneuver your competitors to stay in the market. And the perception is the companies that do that are the ones that really stay ahead and get a competitive advantage. So constancy of purpose, I think, is there. Like, you need stability. Like, I think we all need that, that constancy. We always have to go to the same home. If we're always moving homes and changing places where we live, you just don't get settled. You're always trying to relearn or get used to the things around you. And creating the constancy of purpose, I feel like, really gives us that grounding and that homing there, so then we can focus on bigger things.
Do you find that there is a challenge or a resistance or a reconciliation required between innovating and staying fresh and being agile and nimble and with the ability to adapt and even pivot or evolve, and constancy of purpose? How does purpose connect for you to the ability to maneuver quickly? Because I can see it being like an antidote to, shiny object syndrome, where everything is interesting, but also, can we get so stuck in a constancy of purpose that we're failing to see or react to some of the things around us?
I think it does, but it's also, innovation could be part of your purpose. So if you're doing it not as a reaction, but as a proactive thing, right? Lasting, one of the things that Deming talks about or says it, and, in a lot of the books that we say, it's like lasting improvements take time. So you just can't band-aid yourself into good services and good quality product and good innovation. Like, you have to have a long-term thought to it. And I think it was really, I was just listening to some people, I think it was Bill Gates, is like, people underestimate what they can get done in 10 years and overestimate what they can get done in 1 year. And I think this is one of those things where, it takes a long time to increase quality of innovation, quality of execution, quality of services, all that kind of stuff. So that constancy of purpose, that stability has to be there. And then we have to replace short-term reaction with long-term planning. So, just because something happens today doesn't mean we should throw out the playbook. I think we need to stick to it a little bit and grow from there. And then as we do that, we have to not make the same mistakes. So having that constancy of purpose allows us to experiment with this enough where we make mistakes, and then at the end, document that so we create more momentum behind the constancy, and then re-educate, so then it comes back into the whole organizations. So that constancy of purpose allows us to do that continuous improvement, to that innovation, to that education, and that retraining. Because if we're always doing different things every single day, you can't build on that. You can't build momentum.
You know, what's interesting is you're sharing that is Deming's second half of this, which I always love when he says, and here's why. He says, with the aim to become competitive and stay in business, which for me speaks to the longevity that you were just kind of talking about, and to provide jobs. What do you think about that? What do you think about that being the purpose? So create constancy of purpose toward improvement of product and service, for me, feels like so we can increase sales, so we can become more efficient, which are all, sort of connected to, but less direct than, with the aim to become competitive and stay in business and to provide jobs, which I think that's interesting too, to provide jobs. I don't know. How do you hear that because of, or that, and here's the reason why? Does that resonate with you? Do you agree with that? Do you think that there's anything left out of that?
No, I mean, as a business owner, I think that's, or, in leadership in business, I think that's our goal, is to grow the organization, to create more opportunities, and make our customers provide something that give our customers a competitive advantage, which trickles down to us and keeps us in the fold. So, the better we service our customers, the better we can provide, products to our customers, which gives them a competitive advantage that will trickle down to us. So I think that whole thing, that whole reason is the big why we do it, and the big long-term picture. Now, there are some things that is scary. When you're an entrepreneur and you're in a small business and it's a startup, to say that we want constancy of purpose and not pivot because we're burning cash, or we're doing this or doing that, it takes a lot of maturity, a lot of stability, a lot of great leadership, and a lot of great decision makers to ensure that we have that constancy of purpose. Even going back to, like, okay, do we have the right purpose? Is that constancy the same? Should it be this or not? So I think really getting to that point is, rather than going from, paying the bills and keeping the lights on, and kind of getting to the point where you can think about this, is really, really hard. And that's where a lot of, business owners, as myself, say, okay, we just need to make sure that we pay the bills and keep the lights on so the company can go forward. And I think just stepping back from that and say, okay, instead of just worrying about keeping the lights on and making payroll, let's focus on creating a constancy of purpose. Because I think if you focus on that, all other things fall into place: the jobs, the services, the quality, the profitability, the competitiveness, all that stuff happens automatically if we have the right purpose. And that is a big shift, because in business, when you start it, you're looking at generating wealth and generating revenue. So that is supposed to be the bottom line. But when you start with a purpose and start with the why, I think it was it David Pink, right? Start with why.
Was it
Sinek or Pink? I'm not sure.
Simon Sinek, I think.
Yeah. So he started with why. And, when you start with that, then everything can happen properly. So even as an entrepreneur, we do need a roof over our heads, and we are on those type of situations where we do need to just pay the bills. But if we're looking for a long-term business to create wealth for us long-term, whether we exit it or not, we have to start with the constancy of purpose with that in mind. And when we do that, I think you'll see those companies with that type of outlook grow and strive. Forget about survive. They're not even worried about surviving. They're thriving in the market.
I think you make a essential point, which is that purpose is not revenue model. It is not business model. It is not acquisition strategies or any of the things that move the spreadsheets. It's that why, which that can be really difficult to nail down. That's the purpose. What is if you say to some CEO, what's the purpose of your company? They're going to naturally be like, to fulfill the customers, this. that's your revenue model maybe, but what is the purpose? I think asking that question is unfamiliar, or at least phrasing it that way. Do you agree? And how do you think about that at Amtech? Purpose versus all the other machinery of important goals and planning and strategies, but purpose is something bigger and I guess that covers all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we've been fortunate at Amtech. We were like that. We were like that for a long time. Is short-term goals, reactionary planning. Stay innovative because the competitor got this piece of equipment. So it was more of a reactionary thing than it was, and it was not a good situation to be in because you felt like you never had the steering wheel or you never had the rudder of the ship. You were going where the winds took you. And that is not a very peaceful situation to be in. It's a very anxious situation to be in because you're not in control anymore. And I think, when we create that constancy of purpose and we decided, okay, we're going to stop. We're going to do what worked in other organizations, and we implemented EOS. I think those questions for the leadership, we really had to sit back and think about it. And once we did, decide our constancy of purpose and our purpose, what we have, and then systematized it in the organization and shared it with everybody. And every single day when we wake up, why are we doing this? It was amazing what happened because it gave us clarity on what kind of relationships we wanted, what kind of business we wanted to engage in, what kind of future planning we wanted. And once we started building that, there was like a cultural shift and people were attracted to working with us. Employees want to work here. They knock on the door and say, "Are you guys doing?" They want to stay with the organization. They're committed. They come in every day, and everybody, including myself, we all come in every day and know, okay, what our purpose is, and it's bigger. And I think just having that purpose provides a lot of clarity, a lot of direction, and almost like a North Star on where we're going. And I think any organization, and if you don't have a North Star, an organization, group of people, whether it's a family, whether it's a friend group, whether it's a company, whether, what are a sports team, whatever it may be, if we don't have that North Star and constancy of purpose, like we don't know why we're here. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So I think a lot of it has changed us and has provided that stability and has put those pieces in place where we focus on lasting quality improvements and implementing and not making the same mistakes. So you create this type of momentum in the organization to grow. Even if you don't want to, you just automatically get better because you have the right outlook.
None of Deming's points are meant to be isolated from the other. As they point out, that's not a check mark that once you feel like you've done this, you move on and forget about it. But and maybe you sort of touched on it just with this idea of the North Star, which is another great analogy. But why do you think he led with this? Why is this point one of the 14? Is that a function of importance in your mind, or just I don't know? Think like him for a minute. Do you think that if this is sort of approached first, everything else has the important context it needs to be more successful, or what?
I think it gives you a foundation on, and it gives you that ability to make decisions. And do we invest in this or do we invest in that? Do we engage with this customer or not this customer? Do we move our facility to this place or this place? It allows you to do that. And then once you're what that constancy is, that purpose is, I think you're able to kind of just relax the nerves and then go to work and tackle the things that you have in front of you. Like for example, if you don't have constancy of purpose, okay, we're even in marketing, we're going to hit this market. These are our target demographics and your customers. And then tomorrow, and in 3 weeks, nothing happens. So you go this way, or you go that way. And it's just the guys in sales don't know what's happening. The guys in production don't know what's happening. So I think just creating that constancy of purpose has to be there. Otherwise you can't get an interdepartmental team to work together. Like if it's an organization of one, yeah, maybe, we could get away with it. But when you're working with multiple people in an organization, you have to have that one thing that unites everybody. Otherwise, everybody's just being pulled in different directions all the time.
Jay Patel is the CEO at Amtech, and a really interesting conversation of point one of Deming's 14 points. We're going to continue this in our next episode as we talk about philosophy, which is going to be interesting. Jay, I love how much you stir my own thinking on this stuff, and you advance sort of my own plot lines in how I'm thinking about this stuff. So thanks for that conversation, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers and followers. Consider becoming one today wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube.